Hello and welcome back to another episode of Rotator Cuff Experts. So today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. So there's a question that got posed to me. Can a rotator cuff tear create hand numbness? And it's an interesting question because sometimes we have pain in the shoulder, pain in the arm, and numbness in the hand. Kind of the short answer is a rotator cuff tear is not going to create hand numbness. However, some symptoms that go along with the rotator cuff or some injuries that go along with the rotator cuff tear might create hand numbness. So what would that be? The general idea is if you have a traumatic rotator cuff tear, then most likely you're not going to have any hand numbness. The vast majority of rotator cuff tears do not create hand numbness. However, if you have an injury where you damage your rotator cuff and you injure your neck, or you injure your arm, then certainly you could have them together. But again, that's not the rotator cuff causing the hand numbness. That's just those two things happening at the same time. How else? So in the situation where we have a dislocation of the socket in the ball, right? So here is my poor illustration of a dislocated shoulder. So this is the ball, this is the socket, and the ball gets pushed out the front of the socket. Almost always, 99% of the time, it gets pushed out the front of the socket. And these are the little brachial plexus. So the nerves that go by this dislocation. And so when you dislocate, you can stretch those nerves. When those nerves get stretched, then you can create numbness in the hand, residual numbness in the hand from the stretch of the brachial plexus. Now, again, when you dislocate your shoulder, you can stretch the brachial plexus, and you can tear the rotator cuff. Oftentimes, as we get older, we tear the rotator cuff when we dislocate. So if we dislocate the shoulder and we put tension on the brachial plexus, create a neuropathy, a nerve problem, a pinch of the nerve that causes numbness here, and the dislocation can actually cause a rotator cuff tear. So in that circumstance, yes, you can have hand numbness and a rotator cuff tear. Now again, it's not really because of the rotator cuff tear, it's really because of the injury, the mechanism of the injury, but you can have them together. Also, we talked about this a second ago. If you hurt your shoulder and you in the same time, you injure your neck. So this is my crude attempt of a neck, right? These are the vertebrae here, and these are the discs in between. And then the nerves come down the arm. The nerves come down the arm here, all the way down to the arm. And so if you have an injury where you damage your rotator cuff, you tear your rotator cuff, and you strain the neck and create neuropathy, or this is called actually radiculopathy. Radiculopathy means that the nerve gets pinched in the neck and causes pain down the arm or just in the certain part of the arm, and that depends on what level of the neck that you hurt. So you can have radiculopathy with a shoulder problem. So you can have, technically you could have a traumatic event where you tear your rotator cuff and also cause cervical radiculopathy. So that's possible. But again, that's not really the rotator cuff causing numbness in the hand. It's really two problems happening at the same time. All right. And then other things, the most common reason we have numbness in the hand is carpal tunnel. So this is the carpal tunnel right here. So the carpal bones. And so again, my poor attempt of drawing the carpus in the carpal tunnel. These are represent the bone around the carpal tunnel. This is the tunnel of the carpal, or the transcarpal ligament, and then the median nerve is right there, and there's some tendons that go through there, and some blood vessels go through there too. Median nerve is there, so if you pinch the median nerve, and then you have numbness in the fingers, specifically these fingers here, not these fingers, but these fingers here is what we call the carpal tunnel syndrome. And so again, if you were falling, you tore your rotator cuff, you fell on your hand, you have traumatic carpal tunnel, that's certainly possible too. Not the rotator cuff tear really creating the carpal tunnel, but you can have them together. The last thing that can cause numbness in the hand. This is not the last thing. The last thing I can think of at this moment that can cause numbness in the hand is actually post-operative rotator cuff repair. So if you repair the rotator cuff, oftentimes we'll do a block, which is a little injection here into and around the brachial plexus to numb the arm up, usually for 24 hours or so. So if you have a little bit of irritation of a nerve in the brachial plexus, just like when we talked about if it dislocates, we're going to irritate the brachial plexus, you can irritate the brachial plexus with the nerve injection. And if you do that, then certainly you can have numbness and pain down the hand. So that's possible. So possibly hand numbness can be post-operative problem from the block, actually, and that happens every now and then, and typically this resolves. What if we want to know what the real reason for the numbness in the hand? If we know it's probably not the carpal tunnel, but we have some of these other things, some of these other mechanisms, we're trying to figure out, well, is it really coming from the carpal tunnel or my neck, or where is it coming from? What do we do? Well, the step is, if we're really looking at our neck, we'll probably get an MRI of the neck. Then we can see the nerves. We can see where the nerves go out. We can see if you have a disc bulge, those kind of things. So an MRI of the neck often is necessary. If we think it really is a traumatic problem for brachial plexus, or I think it might be carpal tunnel, then often we'll do what's called a nerve conduction study, or a EMG. What we do is we test the nerves. We test the nerves in various spots down the arm or up the arm and try to figure out where the pinch is coming from. Is the pinch coming from the neck, brachial plexus, elbow, wrist, somewhere in between? So if we're wondering why this is happening, why we're having numbness in the hand, then often an EMG is something that we'll do. And lastly, of course, before we do any of that, we're gonna do a physical exam. We're gonna talk to you about, well, what happened, right? We're gonna see what the mechanism was. How do we describe, or how do we figure out what happened just by you telling us what happened? And then we will do, if we have questions or things don't really line up perfectly, or we want confirmation, then we probably go to an additional test to help determine that. Typically, a rotator cuff tear by itself, isolated without another injury, typically will not cause hand numbness, or pain for that matter either. Anyway, I hope this helps. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Please like and subscribe and hit the bell so you hear when we're doing the next video. This question was also answered on the blog at mybodyprotector.com. So if you prefer to read it, you prefer some images that go along with this, so go there and you can check it out too. All right, thank you. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.